what a journey this has been. What a journey. Joined the clergy, and I got the opportunity to see how it works behind the scenes. And as a researcher, that means a lot to me. I also took a trip to Baja, Mexico, got to meet the Sanctuary group, and I also got to meet Prime Cleric Richard Ruff. I even got to see him work on Torah codes. Now, of course, as a researcher back when I was first joining, I was trying to disprove Richard Ruff's Torah codes. Because there was basically the clergy saying this is true, and Richard Ruff is saying this is true, and don't listen to the opposite side, and of course the opposite side against this clergy were saying that he's faking it, and so what did I do? I purchased the same system that Richard Ruff uses. That's right, I went out and I spent $100 just so I could see if he was being truthful or not. So, what I ended up finding in the end is that he was telling the truth. I found ways that you could fake the codes, but there's also a way to verify if he's faking the codes. So once I figured out the system, I was able to verify whether or not he was actually faking the codes. Spoiler alert, he's not faking the codes. So for the people who are against the clergy that were making these claims, well, guess what? I spent over $100 to figure out if that was true. And, that's just a lie. And once you lie to me, you lose all your credibility. So once I saw that lie, that's when I started to realize that there's a lot of these claims are completely incorrect. There may be truth sprinkled in there to make it look like it's a creditable story, but that's about it. I mean, the claims that are out there are the equivalent of what the mainstream media is doing, where, first off, there's obviously a bias, and secondly, it's not honest reporting. There's sprinkles of truth, and that's it. So once I started to see the truth, my eyes were wide open. I started to keep an eye out for any miracles that might happen. The biggest one that I would like to talk about, there were dreams, and there were other, seeing UFOs and all these different types of things, visions that came true and such, which I've reported over the past several years, since 2013. But the one thing, especially for a researcher who's very big on statistics and stuff, this one was hard for me to swallow. Prior to that, though, I would like to bring up, though, when I was in Israel, at one point I was staying by myself. I just don't really like being around people. Well, because at the time I was trying to wean off medications, because I was only getting worse. I was taking something similar to Cymbalta, and one of the things that go with that medication, one of the side effects is that you may experience increased feelings of suicidal thoughts. And I'm like, well, I keep on getting worse, and they keep on having to up the dosage. You know what? If this is what has to keep on going, I have to keep on up. I just want to get off of it. So I started to get off of it. And I figured if I get off of this, I'm also going to get off the blood pressure medications, because the stress level is not there. If I can try to get around this, eat healthier and such, this was going to be my opportunity. Well, they were worried about me, that because I'm weaning off, there's going to be side effects. So they sent Eric Logan, to stay with me at the place, just to make sure that I was fine. Now, of course, I'm against this, because I'm like, I want to be left alone. But that's their love. That was their love for me, that They want to make sure that I'm fine. And that's the way they treated everybody that I saw there. Amazing. And I'm glad that he did. Eric and I love the guy. I love everyone there. But, you know, Eric and I know we got really close. We became really close there, and it was we could tell that there were so many similarities where we were both the goofballs, so to speak. And hey, we both love Monster Hunter. It's a great game. So there you go, Eric. And so I had a conversation with Kelly at one point. I said, because I still had my doubts. I told her I'm 99% sure that Lord Rael is the Christ, but there's that 1% that's just eating away at me. You know, and I was just like, what if this is all for nothing? And she answers back and she goes, think about this. What is he getting out of us being in Baja, living in poverty? What does he get about us being here in Israel? What does he get from any of us doing any of this? He's not with us. He's not really gaining any revenue because a lot of the revenue is going to all the mission work. So what's he gaining? And I'm like, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. He's not really gaining anything from us because Sanctuary is pretty much running itself. The clergy is pretty much running itself. The Imperial Regent puts in his input, but that's it. That's it. More miracles started to happen besides seeing the UFOs, which were incredible. There was a point, and everybody will remember, where we ended up being taken to a detention center. And one thing I was not allowed to have was my medication. My inhaler, my anxiety medication, my blood pressure medication. I was still weaning off of that. And I was still having side effects. I was due to take the medication that day, but I was unable to get to it. Well, I was there for 6 days. I had to be medically tested. And the one thing that shocked me from being off of that, and keep in mind, this is a high stress level situation, and I'm coming off of blood pressure medications and anxiety medications. This is going to be bad. I was worried I was going to have a heart attack and die. Doctors tested me multiple times and found that my blood pressure was normal, which wasn't even here in the States. When they did blood pressure tests on me, even on the medication, my blood pressure was still high, and they were considering increasing the dosage. But now it's normal. I also wasn't experiencing any side effects of depression, anxiety, or anything that happens when you're coming off these medications. None. I only had 4 puffs left of my inhaler, and I have pretty bad asthma. I didn't have to use 1 puff of my inhaler. When I got back to the US, I went to my grandmother's house. And I'm highly allergic to her pets. And normally in 15 minutes, I would be sneezing up a storm. I was there for 3 hours. Not even a sniffle. No sneezing, no nothing. I had just realized I had been cured of everything. I was able to go to my grandmother's house and visit her without having to leave within a half hour or an hour. I didn't really have to use my inhaler anymore, maybe a puff here and there, but that's it. And I'm off all of my medications. All of them. That made me question if this wasn't him. And I didn't ask for him to do any of this. But it happened. So now I have to wonder. I mean, there's so much scientific evidence out there, and there's some that I have unanswered questions in regards to Lord Rael. But when a miracle like this happens, this raises so many questions. And this is not just something simple. It's not just a vision that came true. This was all medical conditions being cured simultaneously in a high stress level situation. Think about it.